Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Sound Waves. It's great to have you with us today. We're deviating from our normal style or, forum that we normally operate the show. We're going to talk about the power of partnership today. And as a lot of our viewers know, a few weeks ago, we had Hillary Cooper on from Uncluttered here in New York. And we want to talk about two really hot topics that we see in our space. We've talked about a lot about the organization space, and we've also talked about the silver tsunami, or what's going on with senior living and how these two are connected. So we have three great guests today joining us. Hillary Cooper, Howie Horowitz, and Michael Wolfson are joining us. So we're going to get to them in 1 second, but I'm excited to talk about this topic, dive a little bit deeper about how these three work together and any takeaways we can get for our audience on this topic. So let's do a quick intro. So Hillary, you've been on the show before, but give us the quick version of who you are and what you do for our audience tuning in for the first time.
Sounds good. Thank you, Rob, for having me back again. It's wonderful to be a repeat guest. So I'm Hillary Cooper, the founder and president of Uncluttered. Our website is www.uncluttered.me. You can find me anywhere, hopefully, anyhow, through LinkedIn or whatnot, as I found Rob originally. Basically, nobody else wants to do. We help you declutter, get rid of stuff, storage units, apartments, garage space, you name it, we can do it. I've got a trusted team of experts that can help monetize any collections that you or your family might have. It tends to be the kind of thing that collectors are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, and they have the idea that they want to leave their kids with their stuff. Most likely the kids don't want their stuff. So call us and we'll help you figure it out.
Amazing. We'll move on to Howie. Howie, welcome to the show and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hi, good morning. So this is Howard Horowitz, and we have my partner, Michael Wolfson, on as well. We own and run Assisted Living Locators NYC, which essentially is a matchmaking service where we match seniors and families with best fit assisted living communities. Assisted living can include memory care, which is dementia care. It can be independent living or true assisted living in the 5 boroughs of New York City.
Great. And Michael, just a quick intro from you as well.
Good morning. Thanks for having us, Rob. So Howie and I, we cover all New York City and northern New Jersey. And really our goal is to achieve a seamless transition for our clients. This typically entails a transition from home or perhaps rehab to an assisted living community. And we have a trusted network of partners which we call upon to make, such as Hillary, to make a transition as seamless as possible.
Awesome. And that's a great segue into what, like I said, what we're calling today the power of partnership and why you three are on. Hillary, why don't you kick us off as to how you all met and how this partnership's developed?
Sure, a very fun story. So I'm a big believer in the power of networking. So I don't miss an event. I don't miss an opportunity to meet fellow people in my space, whatever it may be. It could be movers, it could be senior assisted living locators, like that, people that are in the social work industry that are first line, people that come into somebody's home and they see that there needs to be some sort of a change. So I was fortunate enough to be asked to be at the event at the JCC, the Senior Wellness Aging Symposium in January, I think last year. And the event was not as busy in the beginning. It was a cold and windy day and there was not that many people that were out and about. But I struck up a conversation with Michael, who was the vendor next to me. And there's a golden opportunity to meet people in your space that you wouldn't ordinarily. Anyway, the circumstance, very funny, small world. We all grew up in New York City. We probably should have met each other about 40 years ago, but as luck had it, that didn't happen. And I had heard from Michael that his partner Howie was coming and that they had just bought this franchise. And we launched into a whole conversation. I was giving a speech and the boys came and they listened to my speech and we talked all about how we could possibly work together. So a great opportunity to collaborate, as Michael and Howie have been wonderful, feeding me clients that are in the process of looking for a place to move to. And again, most people that start to look at assisted living, the first thing that the family says is, how are we going to make this move possible? We're moving my father and my mother, hopefully together, to a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment if they're lucky, in an assisted living facility when they're downsizing from a house that they've lived in for probably up to 60 years. And the stuff that's accumulated and all of the collections. And it's never an apartment, it's never an easy, I don't get the easy jobs, I get the tough ones. And it's usually a house that has to be downsized in a way that is both incredibly transparent and with great empathy. So that's the key to working with people that you trust and that you respect, is you're only as good as your name, right? Your reputation is everything. So it's so important that I listen to the stories and I move with the greatest of care through people's collections. And Howie and Michael have been fortunate enough to meet some wonderful families that are looking for exactly that service. So it's really a very simpatico relationship that I'm lucky enough to be part of.
Howard, how important is it to have someone like Hillary as a part of your arsenal when working with clients?
Yeah, it's critical because, when you're, especially in the beginning, you're trying to develop what your service offering can be. And because our job is to find the best fit community for a particular senior citizen, matches with their family's objectives. But in order to do that, one of the key areas is how are they going to get from their home of, as Hillary said, 40, 50, 60 years perhaps, to the assisted living community. And that is one of the biggest hurdles to our business, which is you have an apartment, you have things that cannot go with you to the new home. You have things that have to go to charity, to storage, whatnot. And we can't do all of that. So what we've developed is a series of trusted partners like Hillary, like Uncluttered, her company Uncluttered. And so together we can market ourselves jointly as an end-to-end solution. And that's really very important. And likewise, I think when you go into a business, you have to have the right partners. And Michael Wolfson, my partner in assisted living, and I have known each other for upwards of 30 years, but we'd not been together in business, but we complement each other. So I tend to do the business development and the partnering with folks like Hillary, and Michael tends to be the face of the company to the clients and work very well with them. Someone who's sort of looking after the business end of it and someone who's looking after the client end of it.
As you look to grow this franchise, how important is our partnerships like this?
That's how we said it. There really is critical. I mean, the more value we can add to the client relationship, the better it will be for everyone. And that's what we endeavor to do. And, just to add on, we really, perhaps it's a bit cliche, the term concierge service, but we try to do that in every respect. And just, this is a business that, is tremendously meaningful to me. As an only child, I was the caregiver to my parents for over a decade. So the opportunity to dedicate myself professionally to this calling, if you will, was really very meaningful. And we're just very fortunate to have partners like Hillary and others that make this transition much easier, what can be an overwhelming process for families.
Yeah, no, I love this partnership. And Hillary, as you know, many of the viewers of this podcast are business owners, and their number one concern is growing their company. So today we're talking about a partnership and how you guys help grow together. Maybe you could speak here to how this has helped you grow on the revenue side and growing your business, and maybe just a quick, best practice when looking to partner with other companies like this.
I mean, it's helped me grow exponentially. Looking reflected back on my 2025 year, I would say that there's been a great increase in my business based upon my relationship with vendors very similar to Michael and Howie. I think it's very important to show up. Any networking opportunity, I cannot stress the importance of putting yourself out there. Wherever it may be. For me, in addition to Michael and Howie, real estate brokers, trust and estates attorneys, social workers, anything in the senior care, anybody that touches the senior care, this component whatsoever is crucial and so important. I mean, again, it's more about just knowing that there's people out there that can help and who's the best suited person for that job. There's a lot of what I do is, I joke, it's 90% unlicensed therapists, 10% declutter. There's such I know you guys are laughing because it's also
Well, we have a similar experience.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of people that could do a decluttering job. You walk in and you get rid of items and you say, okay, well, there's no value here, what have you. And what it is that I do working with seniors is that you have to be able to figure out what's the best manner of what's the empathy, what's the manner of declutter. Is it a slow job? Is it a quick job? So this is where it's a crucial of importance to the growth of my business to have only the best people surrounding me. And that again is just, by luck and happenstance, living in New York City, growing up in New York City, it's opened up, my world to, a lot of wonderful people in business, period. But I'm fortunate enough, again, to every time I go to a network, the audience. Who can I take away? If there's one relationship that I can make out of meeting 30 people at a meet and greet, that's a home run for me. So I think that's the most important thing. As far as, Michael and Howie bought a franchise, I look at my business as an opportunity to build a franchise. I think that there's
I love that
opportunity here for Uncluttered to be a nationwide business. I'm working right now with Roadway and Junk Luggers in a partnership as well. There's the vendors that I work with as well as the sources that come to me are opportunities for growth and partnership, and hopefully, potentially a franchise opportunity.
And Howard, we have a lot of franchise owners who listen to the podcast. When you look at 2026 and your growth opportunities, where are you and Michael doubling down to grow this business? Are you leaning on home office or are you paving your own way? Or
I'll
both?
let Michael answer this one because we have an event coming up.
Yeah, no, or Michael, sure.
Yeah, I think that's
we're seeing growth really from many different channels. As you referenced, the silver tsunami. I heard a stat that by 2030, 40% of New York City's population will be of senior citizens age. So there's certainly no dearth of, market demand for it. And, another thing that really I found so impressive, the communities we have here in Manhattan. I mean, they honestly could be Four Seasons hotels. Now, of course, there is a sticker price that goes with that, but we really have some beautiful communities and also have a range of, budget parameters. As I say, we cover all the city, all 5 boroughs. So I think the demand is really coming from just the growth of the demographic.
Yeah, definitely. And from a marketing side, though, where are you putting your time and energy into growing the business?
I think the event that we're doing together, I don't know if Howie wants to speak about that. That's our first endeavor as doing a joint panel to kick off 2026 and our continued partnership.
Yeah, I think, more broadly for the other business owners, I think 2 things are really critical. I've started a series of businesses over the years. One is allocation of responsibilities. So you have to be organized and have a clear roadmap of what you want to do. So I mentioned that I tend to focus on the business development end, which means partnering, which means doing these kind of panels, doing events like today, doing a whole host of things to increase visibility. And Michael tends to do the client-facing side, which is equally important. One doesn't go anywhere without the other. And the second is, as Hillary alluded to, networking. And I think one very good metaphor is the telephone. You can invent the telephone, but if you only have one person who has a telephone, it has 0 value. The value of the telephone is in the network. So you have to have 2 people or 4 people or 8 people, and it goes up exponentially. And that's the secret of working with Hillary or working with other preferred partners, is that if we combine our Rolodex with Hillary's, if we combine it with typical partners, we call them referral partners for us, would be real estate brokers, elder care lawyers, financial planners, life insurance and long-term care insurance, brokers and experts, movers, home organizers. If we combine with those folks, there's no way that they can know everyone that we know, and there's no way we can know everyone they know. But the combination is, 2 and 2 is 10, not 4. And that's just because there are so many more possibilities that open up. It's not only just numbers of people in your orbit, it's opportunities to do panels, opportunities to go to events, opportunities to really do joint ventures. And so I sort of highly recommend that, looking for people in your space. The last thing I'd say on this is, New York is a big city, but you really have to get to know your space. And I always, to be very honest, was sort of an individualist. I'm working on my own. I'm doing a variety of things. I like to take the lead. But, who said it takes a village? New York really boils down to a village. So you would think that in Manhattan alone, or the 5 boroughs of New York City, and we go to North Jersey as well, that would be sort of an unwieldy amount of people and places and organizations to cover. In fact, it's a village. It's very small. When we get to know the people who are the thought leaders, and that's something you want to present yourself as a thought leader in the space, not just somebody who's kind of going through the motions, but someone who's trying to innovate, someone who's trying to take a leadership role in the space that you're in. And that also helps with, networking as well, obviously, but being a thought leader. So all of that sort of taken together, I think you have to work with others. There's a geometric increase in the benefit of that with each additional organization that you partner with, and having a very organized idea of what it is that you're offering, how it's different than what other people are offering. What we offer, very few people do this kind of assisted living advisory work. There are a lot of assisted living buildings, but there aren't very many people consulting and advising. And there are even fewer that offer this service to the client as we do for free. And the reason it's free in our context is because the buildings pay us. It's essentially like a niche real estate brokerage function, I should say, because we're offering buildings and communities that fit various healthcare and budgetary needs of our clients. But having an idea of what it is you bring to the table, what your value is, what your edge is over others. In the home care space, we don't do home care, but we partner with a home care company. One of the biggest mistakes I see of the home care business, and I see it every day, 10 times a day, because I deal with that many home care companies. There are hundreds, literally hundreds of home care companies in Manhattan. And by home care, I mean someone who will send a nurse, someone who will send a non-medical aide to help you with activities of daily living, like getting dressed, medication management, what have you. And I asked them, okay, you could be a referral partner of ours. You could be a preferred vendor of ours. What differentiates you from the other 99 home care companies? They never have an answer. And that's so unfortunate, because I'm sure that each of these companies, while not wildly different, has something to offer that the other company does not. Even if it's only their personal experience, their network of caretakers, there's got to be something that they can put forward as a reason to go with them. And I can't tell you how frequently I get the answer, well, it's home care, or maybe they try to compete on price. When they compete on price, and as I said, we're free, our service, so we're never having to compete on price, but the home care companies, when they're competing on an hourly rate, that's the last way that you want to compete, I think. You want to compete on the value add of your service, not I'm cheaper than the next guy by the hour. So yeah. I do think having a clear idea of what it is you do, what it is you add, and articulating that is
Howie,
very
I love that. Howie, tell us, Michael and Howie, tell us how everyone can find you.
Yeah.
Up there.
Living Locators. .com/NYC for New York, or 212-653-0152. That's a 24/7 live answering team.
Amazing. And Hillary, you could give us your site again?
Sure. It's uncluttered.me, w.uncluttered.me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on all the socials, Instagram and Facebook. And I welcome any opportunity to continue to talk to your audience. Thank you so much for your time again today, Rob, and Howie and Michael for joining.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Great to have you all today, and we appreciate it, and we'll see everyone on the next episode.
Happy holidays.
Very good.
Okay.
Picture of us.